Hello, I am DC. I am a streamer, and I am the captain of YGG Elite. I streamed Axie Infinity for months, and then during that time, I don't really have the resources to actually play competitively. But deep inside me, I told myself that I could play very competitively.
Hi, I'm Reina, known as Momo, and I'm part of YGG Elite. Within my first week as a scholar, I actually hit like 2.2k. I actually picked the game up pretty quickly, and that's when I knew that this was one of the game that I actually liked.
Itachi T here, Axie Pro player and part of YGG Elite. I'm good with arithmetic, like I can do this addition, subtraction in my mind, and with Axie Infinity, that goes a lot with planning as well with the damage calculations and all.
I'm Nico, also known as Indar, part of YGG Elite. For now, I cannot say that I'm a successful player as the others, but all I can say is that I'm gonna try my best to be one of the successful esports player.
Yo, hey guys, what's up? What's up? Good evening, good morning to everyone else all over the world. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. And this time around, we are here with Sparkadia's main man himself. We have the one and only Chandler Thomlison. But yeah, we have the whole gang here. We have no ACLs, we have Saratobi, and we have Kazuo actually is in the background. So how are you doing, guys?
Awesome.
Good.
Awesome. Doing good.
Yeah, I'm excited
to be here.
Great.
But yeah, I mean, so for everyone at home, make sure before we start, make sure to like, share, subscribe, and also, yeah, tell your friends about what's going down tonight. We are on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and the live AMA discussion is happening here on Discord. So yeah, get your friends in because we might have a few surprises for you at the end of the stream. Sorry, Toby, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing very well today. Thanks, John. Excited to have Edenbrawl in the house today. It's a game that we've been looking at for quite some time. It's a really high quality game. We've been obviously looking at it for quite some time, but for those in the audience who don't know, Chandler, would you be able to give us a quick elevator pitch for Edenbrawl?
Yeah, so Edenbrawl is what we call a brawler, and just for clarity to get it out of the way because it's super freaking confusing, is Edenbrawl is the first game in the Sparkadia ecosystem. So Sparkadia is a big ecosystem that we plan to have multiple games in, Edenbrawl being the first game. So Edenbrawl is a brawler, and really the idea behind this is the idea of action, fast-paced combat of a brawler, and the strategy and depth of a MOBA. It's really this idea that, hey, look, you know, we all love League of Legends and Dota, but these games are kind of hard to get into. It takes you a lot of games to really warm up and be comfortable with them. So we really wanted to create a game. The game one, it was like, hey, I have no idea what's going on, but damn if I'm not having a ton of fun fighting. In game 50, it's, wow, I'm having fun fighting, but there's a lot to do and there's a lot of strategy in this game. So we've just kind of made this crazy mashup that kind of looks and feels like a MOBA, but the combat is just much more intense, and it's a really great time to play.
And I think you guys are really kind of leaning in to the kind of play component first. You know, this is very much a kind of play and maybe earn game, you know, with the kind of play segment being like the kind of really driving force behind this game, like super high quality, you know, definitely trying to compete with some of the, you know, incumbent, you know, top tier MOBA games out there, right? So in that sense, like from the blockchain side, how does the kind of blockchain piece work with Edenbrawl?
Yeah, so we are very adamant that we're essentially a Web 2 game that's blockchain enabled. We're not a blockchain game that happens to have a game attached to it. And we think both models work. Like we've seen things work, and it's definitely an okay thing to do. We just really wanted to be. We said, hey, let's make a Web 2 game, and let's just add this idea of asset ownership. Let's add this idea of being able to earn in the first place. And so we call it. You pretty much nailed it on the head. This idea of play for fun and sometimes earn in tiny little parentheses. It's like, hey, you might earn something. You're going to be playing the game. You're going to own these assets. Why can't you sell them at some point? But our blockchain is really dissociated from kind of that playing aspect. It's, hey, I have this skin, now I can sell it. It's not, hey, I own this land and this generates me passive yield, and because I play this game, I can, earn tokens on the regular. Again, totally fair model. It's just not really what we wanted to approach. So we built a really, really fun game, and we're building out this ecosystem that has multiple really, really fun games. And we just want you to enjoy it. And so we talk a lot about value extraction, which is this idea of I'm playing this game and I want to sell this token because don't we all want to make money from playing video games, versus, okay, I'm playing this game and I have utility within this ecosystem and I enjoy it. And I'm not necessarily wanting to take these things out of the ecosystem. I'm wanting to reinvest them into it. And to us, that's all about having a game that you enjoy enough to care to do that, essentially.
Sounds good. I mean, at this point, like, we're really glad to be able to see, games slowly coming out, getting released one by one. But, you guys are actually about to open your doors to more and more players. And that's why, we have the YGG community here to check out, how the game's actually played, how we can enjoy it, and, how we can come in as a guild as well. But then, like, for me, Chandler, maybe my main question would be, what would be your stance on, how you guys will be able to compete with existing MOBA games that are out there?
Yeah, I mean, I think, Saratobi mentioned, like, we do eventually want to compete with the League of Legends and the Dotas of the world, but not anytime soon, just to be honest. I think, we have a completely different game. Our games are much shorter. They're much more action-packed. It's a lot easier to pick up and play. And so we think we can at least get in the door against those games. But I think the key for us is, like, to us, blockchain and Web3, this is a completely new economic model. This is exactly what free-to-play was 15, 20 years ago. And this is brand new. And we think there's a subset of users that are willing to, not necessarily take a chance on that, but we obviously have people on the phone here that love Web3 games. They love this idea of, like, hey, there's this community-driven game and I own these assets and I can do all these things. And so we talk a lot about, hey, our first 10,000 users, whatever the arbitrary number is, are going to be Web3 folks who just really want this to succeed. This is, I've been looking for a Web3 game that's super, super fun for a long time. And I've been looking to scratch my League of Legends fix for a really long time. And these are going to be people that I call our evangelists. It's people that really want this game to work. They need this game to work to go tell all of their Web2 friends, hey, this is it. I know you don't like NFTs, my friend, but try this one, because you're going to not even realize they're NFTs. You're not even going to realize there's a token, and you can get it and play no problem. And so we really want to be that bridge from Web 2 into Web 3, and kind of that Web 2.5, and be like, hey, look, do you care that this is a Web 3 game? There's going to be people that, of course, care, but we really want those Web 2 gamers not to care, essentially.
I agree. I mean, from the looks of it itself, man, like, you guys have done a really, really good job here. I mean, the graphics are out of this world. The gameplay in itself, I've actually had a chance to do some some test battles, like, earlier this week, and it's pretty fun, to be honest. It's pretty fun, and I can't wait for our friends over here at the YGG community to actually get their hands on it. And if I'm not mistaken, we do have some of our game testers already playing the game. So, that's something to watch out for, especially, when the full game comes out. I mean, if you guys could see, like, on screen, I'm doing the tutorial mode, which, I mean, up front, like, you can see the details, man. Like, you'd see the details, and yeah, you're right, Chandler. Like, it's very competitive with it compares to the current games that are out there. But what I want to ask you is, what actually made you guys decide that, this is the game that we want to build?
Yeah, it actually started like six and a half something years ago. So it's a big goal for a long time, but I was just playing a lot of League of Legends at the time, and I've always played games through the lens of, like, why didn't they do this instead? This was a weird game design decision. This is awkward. And I always just wanted to do it better. So we originally set out to make what I called the Modern Gamers MOBA. It was this idea of League of Legends is 10 years old. Why don't we update this? And it started out like that, but we slowly kind of transitioned, and we had this idea of our main game mode that we call Edenbrawl. And for those who haven't seen it, essentially, rather than have minions and towers in this lane pushing style, we threw a ball in, and it's kind of like League of Legends meets Rocket League. And so you grab the ball and you carry it, you pass it, you shoot it, you score it, all the while actively fighting and trying to kill each other. And so, fighting enables you to open up space and capture the ball. And so as soon as we really introduced that element, it was it was that click of, this is our third wheel element of, you have characters and you have fighting, but you need some wild card variable, and a ball bouncing all over the screen and having to focus on the ball really just throws that loop in, and it makes every match unique. You never know which direction a ball is going to bounce. You never know who's going to path which way. And it makes everything much more interesting. So as soon as we hit that, it was like, yeah, this is a game type that we can see being esports ready. This is a game type that we can see us watching on the weekend. And that was what was really, really important to us, for sure.
I mean, I think you've really zoomed in on something that's like a real buzzword right now in blockchain gaming, which is esports. Obviously, we're just waiting for those kind of skill-based games that are going to really revolutionize the space. What's the kind of feedback so far? Have you been in touch with any kind of big esports entities, and have you had much feedback from those guys about Edenbrawl?
Yeah, so we're making our world tour around right now, and we have talked to like some of the completely Web 2 entities, and we're definitely in talks with them kind of in the future. But we're already seeing some like really, really positive response to the competitive side of the game. And we actually held a tournament yesterday. Basically, Pogo Starter Gaming came in and started some Twitter beef randomly with Xborg and threw down the gauntlet. We were like, hey, why don't we make a tournament out of this? So we spun up a tournament yesterday, and we had 4 teams, and it was a ton of fun. And people tuned in, and it's like, yeah, I enjoyed watching this game. We had people, this is the most fun Web3 tournament I've ever had. And so the game is really, it's just built for it. I mean, sports is obviously super watchable, and it's the sports and esports. And then you kind of have this, it's very watchable. And then the gameplay is just so varied that I think people want to keep diving in, and it feels like you can constantly do things better and better and better. I'll admit, bragging rights a little here. We had the 4 teams play between the guilds, and 3DGG ended up winning, and then they played the devs, and we smashed them. So there is like this idea of like eventually, time played does equal skill. And
who's gonna beat the devs? I think you guys should offer some sort of prize or some sort of.
We're happy to. We're happy to. Absolutely. If you guys want to put together a squad and challenge us, we're all for it.
It sounds like a plan. Sedano, get on it.
That's why we have no ACLs on the call here. So ACLs has actually been very active in one of our core games that is also a MOBA brawler. And I mean, so like ACLs, like the question is for you, like what differences do you see with the other games that you've played with Edenbrawl, and what do you think sets the game apart from a community member perspective?
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, one of the things that really caught my attention was just the depth of the storyline and just creating this experience with the world. Like, it really pulls you in right away, right? And what I've seen across some of these other projects, everyone's trying to create some sense of interoperability, right? And we've seen some projects do it within their own ecosystem. Satan Arena is starting to do it, but they've been rolling for about a year, and now they're starting to introduce these concepts. And like Sparkadia, Edenbrawl, you guys are coming out really aggressively with all of this readily, there for everybody to kind of just have a taste and get a glimpse of what's coming, right? So I really like that. I love the art. I like this whole arena style, thing you got going on here. But one thing that, I will say, the game looks fun. I can't wait to jump into it. But it's something, we're familiar with in the MOBA scene. My best example will be Pokemon Unite, adding that, strategic element, that objective element on top of the battle. It's always, a fun time. So I like it so far. I can't wait to actually dive into the game. But just generally, the storyline is what's really grabbing my attention here.
Yeah, so we talk. I appreciate you calling that out. I think we this is something that's really really important to us, and we talk a lot about like League of Legends. Obviously, paved the way for this idea of games could be this gigantic IP, and we can make anime out of it, and we can make multiple games out of it. Maybe they didn't pave the way, but it's obviously the one that comes to mind. And I think they had they did it backwards, and respect to them. Like, I'm not saying that they could have done it any other way, but they made a really, really great game. And then they were like, hey, we've got this amazing IP in this game. Let's go make a bunch of transmedia. Let's make TV. Let's make other games. And our goal is to essentially do it the other way around, because we want to be able to plan for this IP instantly. We know that we want to do all these things, and we know that we're creating this world that we're going to want people to dive into. And so it's a lot easier, especially with blockchain, to be able to plan out how all these things are connected. And so that's something that's just insanely important to us. And I think the world that we're building is just it's really really unique. And there's nothing like it. The characters are completely out of the box and wacky. And so we really want people to dive in there, because that makes people play the game more, and that makes people want to have these NFTs more, and wants people to really express themselves through the games that they play. That's what's really really important to us.
I mean, that's pretty cool that that you brought it up, because I mean, at this point, we are just waiting. We are waiting for the next game to get just sink our teeth into, and even like later on, maybe even join you guys in your own competitive circuit. Maybe even have our own YGG team to represent the community. And yeah, I mean, I agree with Saratobi. Like this is what makes games fun. Like the competitive aspect of it, and just basically having a game that at the end of the day, would you really care if it's blockchain or not? I mean, of course, like we have NFTs that we can collect. We have some sort of ownership within your ecosystem, and I think that's really important. But then Chandler, like, how about you guys? Like on on the dev team, like how many of you guys are working on the project? How does it look like inside the Sparkadia Studios office?
Yeah, so like I said, this started about 6 or 7 years ago, and it was just me. And I basically just went out and hired it's like 200 something freelancers, and we just slowly hobbled together the project from like glue and duct tape, basically. And there was no full-time employee. I was working on weekends and nights, and that was it. But once we raised the funding round back in December, it was like, okay, we actually need to get a real gaming team behind this. And so I went out and basically just messaged absolutely everybody that worked at Riot, and absolutely everybody that worked at Blizzard, and everybody that worked at Bungie, and said, hey, I've got a little bit of money. I've got this really cool game. Would you be interested in like helping me finish this out? And we grew the team. And so we're about 25 full-time employees now. Almost every single one is from either Riot, Bungie, Blizzard, Epic, ArenaNet, just random stuff. So these are people who know how to build really, really good Web 2 games and know how to build really, really good franchises. And so we kind of took that foundation of Edenbrawl and said, okay, let's take it to the next level. Let's bring this up. And so like, even like, back when we used to do concept art, it was like, I'd pay someone hardly any money at all, and we'd squeeze out concept art in a week. And then we have people like Alvin Lee, who came in and did the art behind me. And Alvin used to do the splash art for League of Legends. And so it's like, well, this is obviously a completely different ball game and a completely different echelon. So it's been a really awesome experience being able to actually bring a crazy talented team and take things to the next level.
Yeah, I can attest to the quality of this game. Just want to hop in really quick. I've been playing League of Legends for over 10 years. A number of competitive PvP games. Like I was Diamond in League, and I played Ribbon top. And just coming into this game and playing like Jet, which is the ninja hero, just so much fun. And the quality, the artwork, the gameplay is just top notch. So 100% agree with everything you're saying, and can definitely tell the caliber of talent behind the game. So we're just super excited for this to go live, and I'll definitely be playing as much as I can.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I mean, Kazuo himself is very notorious as one of the OG YGG gamers. Like in the core team, we do have some guys who on our free time, we are playing games 24/7, and definitely Kazuo is one of them. But yeah, I mean, before we get into the technical aspects of it with the Toby, I just wanted to like bring up like a very important point that I've noticed. So facing the community, being on Discord, being able to following like all of the content creators, all of our Discord, or most of our Discord members. When the bear market started, like you've seen a couple of guys who would usually spend most of their time in Axie Infinity or in their favorite play to earn games, coming back to Web 2 games. And one of the most famous genres that we've noticed is, if it's not FPS, they're going back to MOBA games. And come to think of it, like we only have a very few selection of games that you could actually play right now. But then I think Chandler, I'd love to save this for the Q&A portion of our AMA. But yeah, we want to know when can the greater community actually finally get their hands on the game.
Yeah, so we're very adamant of like this idea of like, hey, it's ready when it's ready. And so we're not rushing this out. A lot of people play the game and they're like, yo, if you just put in 2-3 more champions and polish the UI, you just release it. That's not really what we're about. So we really want to take our time. We want to make sure that when the game comes out, like it's good to go, because you only get one launch. So we're currently expecting May of next year, so May 2023 is the current target. That'll at least be when kind of like this early access goes live. But again, I'm not making any promises. We're doing our best. The best way to come in and play the game right now is get involved with the guild, get involved with the DAO or community, and ask them to do a show match, ask them to do a dev stream and play with them. So if you want to play now, that's honestly the best way to do it.
For sure. And by the way, guys, like in case you didn't know, the place to find, or the place where you will be able to download Edenbrawl is actually on Steam. So these are one of the few games that are actually on Web 2 platforms. And not just any Web 2 platform or gaming platform, but the biggest, one of the biggest rather. But yeah, sorry, Toby.
So yeah, on my side, obviously always interested in the kind of tech side. Always like to kind of dig in a little bit here. What kind of blockchain is Edenbrawl going to be using, and what's the kind of reasoning behind the blockchain that you've chosen to go with, and what's your kind of outlook for the future in that regard?
Yeah, so we're building on Immutable X. We just announced that partnership 2-3 weeks ago, and we've been lights out happy. Amazing decision. Patting myself on the back for making that decision so far. Honestly, we put everybody through the ringer. We went like 4 months just asking every chain infinite amounts of questions and asking them, what's in it for us? What are you going to give us? What are you going to do? How is this going to work? And Immutable's just been amazing from start to finish. I think the big kind of kicker for us was, I talked at the start of the call about this, and it's this idea of like, look, we're a Web 2 game that's blockchain enabled. And what that means is the chain can never get in the way. We can never be forced to make game design decisions because of the blockchain that we're on. Like, oh, we want to be able to do this part in our economy, but there's minting costs. And that kind of ruins it because we can't sell this asset now because it would tank it because everybody's spending 30, 40 cents on something like this. And it's really decisions like that. And as soon as Immutable came out and said like, hey, we're only ever going to do games. This blockchain, this chain is designed for one reason and one reason only, and that's games. That just made sense to us because we knew that there's never ever going to be a conflict of interest. And I think that's what was really important to us, was every decision we know they're making is to make sure that games like us succeed. So it just made sense for us on that.
Awesome. Yeah, I definitely see like a lot of really good games choosing Immutable as their chain of choice. Obviously the gaming centricism that they're using makes a lot of sense there. I'm going to ask a bit of a cheeky question to follow up that one though, which is obviously, we are a play to earn blockchain gaming guild. It's not always about the earnings. However, if our guild members are trying to seek yield in Edenbrawl, what is the potential for? What's your ideas around the best and earn strategies? What can our community do when they're, because obviously I believe that there is going to be like a free to play component of the game. What can they do to like jump in and try and hunt down some potential yields?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna be honest, and I obviously know who I'm talking to, and I know the audience here, but like, I want to be 100% honest, guys. This is not the game that if you want to make a wage, this isn't it. And we'd like to be just very, very upfront and honest about that because we don't want to misalign expectations. That said, you know, earning will happen. It's like because you own things, of course you're going to earn something, but there is no yield, there is no passive revenue or anything like that. So the way to do it, honestly, if people want to make money, is to get in the game and play a bunch and be good at the game. So our system works a little differently in that instead of directly earning tokens when you play, you actually earn tickets. And tickets enter you into what's essentially a raffle. We call it a reward pool. And so obviously the more tickets you have, the more chances to win in the reward pools you have. And reward pools can have anything in it. It can have off-chain currency, it can have off-chain items, it can have NFTs, it can have crafting blueprints, it can have tokens. And so obviously the key to getting the most is earning more and more and more tickets. And how do you earn more tickets? Well, you play the game more, you're better at the game, or you know, shameless plug, you buy the NFTs behind you because those help you generate tickets faster. But that's kind of how we do it, and we like this model a lot because it dissociates playing from earning. It still exists, obviously. However, it is impossible for me to sit there and be like, hey, I just earned 6 tokens for the last hour I played, therefore I'm making $6 an hour, $7 an hour, whatever it is. Instead, it's okay, I earned 100 tickets this week, and those tickets got me X, Y, Z, this was worth this much money. Okay, I think that I made $100 this week. Let me think back to how many hours I played. And so it's really meant to dissociate that so people can focus on like, you know, I'm not going to min max this. I'm just going to have fun, and it's a byproduct of it.
Of course, and I mean that makes sense. I mean, with a game like this, assuming I think psychologically this could be extremely beneficial to the player base, not having this like completely like financialized mindset when jumping into the game. But what's amazing though is assuming that you guys like have some of the success that you're aiming for, and you get lots of Web 2 adoption, maybe you get the Web 3 adoption, you know, in over time, items, hopefully, as long as you've kind of figured out like how to do scarcity correctly, there will be like items that become meaningful, and if you've got that esports component, there's going to be like NFTs that become like historically meaningful. And who knows, like it's the kind of thing where if you're good at this kind of game and you go out there and you're hunting down the best pieces of loot, you know, maybe these like scarce assets may potentially end up being valuable at some time. So that's obviously an exciting thing to look forward to, and I do think that arguably it's a lot more sustainable model than some of what we've been seeing. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that kind of plays out.
Yeah, I think sustainability, I mean, is by far the most important word. I think, you know, Axie was amazing, but then we saw what happens when it hits scale. And it's like, well, scale and scarcity inherently they're antagonistic. And so that's really why we have this ticket system in. And so we really, really want people not to expect that, because you can't do scarcity and scale at the same time. So I think that sustainability word is by far the most important. And it's just getting players to come in and play your game no matter what. It has to be bear market resistant, essentially.
Yeah, I mean,
Would you do a limited run of skins?
Oh, 100%.
Okay, yeah, because that would be really awesome to see that in the form of an NFT skin. Yeah.
Yeah, the way that it works is we monetize both off-chain and on-chain. So you can for the record, game is completely free to play. You do not need to own anything or ever purchase any tokens, crypto, NFTs, anything to play the game. But we have off-chain skins. These are, think like rare skins. You pay $10, you get 1,000, you know, spark points. We call them jingles. It's unlimited supply, off-chain, everything. And then the legendary skins are on-chain. There are 10,000 of these. It's a limited run. There's only ever going to be 10,000. And that's kind of our scarce model. And so we're never really eliminating people. You can still have skins if you're an off-chain player. That's okay. You're just not going to have that top skin.
A quick follow on to Kazuo's question there. Assuming that like you have like, let's say this kind of off-chain behavior was to really kind of scale up, and you had lots of this happening. is there a stage at which, like, does that kind of have a, do you think that'll have a positive impact on the kind of on-chain economic side, assuming that like this off-chain side got really huge? Have you guys got some sort of mechanical
Yeah.
background that you think you're going to try and feed that value back into the kind of economy in some way?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think you know, a lot of people talk about like, wait a second, you're monetizing both these. Don't they cannibalize each other? Like, if someone's spending money off chain, are they still going to spend money on chain, and vice versa? And I think it's completely the opposite. I think they're very, very synergistic. I think, you know, we want people to grow attached to these characters, and I think no one wants to. Or I guess this is a lot of people, but it's very difficult for these Web2 gamers to come in and be like, oh, this skin is $500. Like, the most I've ever paid in League of Legends is 20. For Cottontail Teemo, obviously, but the big problem is like you can't bridge people that way, and so I think we really want to say like, hey, look, get involved in the game, fall in love with the game, fall in love with the characters, and that's what's going to make you be like, wait, I'm now a collector. I have to own the holographic Charizard because I love this so much and I care this much. So yeah, I think that off-chain revenue really brings people in to the on-chain revenue. It gets them excited about it, and it gets me really excited too, because I'm part collector and I'm part like trader and asset owner person. I used to do World of Warcraft accounts, and I loved it. Like, that was my favorite part of the game. So I'm really excited to kick in that part of the economy, and there's definitely going to be a place for those people.
For sure. I mean, that's really exciting to hear. And look, I'm a gamer first. You know, I definitely play games in my spare time, and it's one thing I'm just really excited to see is games where like they do cater to both these audiences, but obviously what's key there is that assuming that the kind of the Web2 revenue piece does have some benefit to the kind of on-chain piece at some stage or in some way, and obviously that the Web3 piece is there to tantalize slowly but surely those Web2 users. If I'm a Web2 user and maybe I'm spending like a 10 a month or 20 a month or whatever it is, over time, you know, maybe there is some way for them to kind of use these off-chain assets, and you want to kind of tempt them into those on-chain assets over time. And I suppose as well, you know, going back to the esports just super briefly, you know, we want to see the esports users want to flex their NFTs. You know, that's key. You know, I mean, and I think that's going to be an exciting. I think we're seeing a lot of massive traction with like really, really major names. I know that I've personally actually been speaking to some like huge names. I don't even want to say their names right now because they're that big, getting into the space. So there's so much hype in. I think because I think monetization in esports itself is a big question mark right now. I think games like where there's tangible assets that have some kind of financialized value that can be put on the line, you know, really kind of creates this mechanism through which esports can be monetized in a way that just hasn't been possible in the past. So that's going to be a really exciting thing to see.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot. I mean, I think, you know, Web3 is kind of the natural evolution for esports. And we talk all the time about like our guild model, essentially. Like, okay, we're not a play to earn game. Okay, that means we don't really do like scholarships, and like, okay, well, how do guilds get involved in that direction? And for us, it's not necessarily that model, it's esports organizations. And not only esports organizations, good esports organizations nowadays is not just esports, it's lifestyle, it's culture, it's product. And what better place for Web3 than that? It's this idea of like, look, I have the #1 Edenbrawl team in the Sparkadia ecosystem. Let me monetize that. I have these fans all over the world. I have 10 million Twitter followers, and everybody wants to buy a shirt, and everybody wants to buy a hat, and everybody wants to show that they care. And, you know, I think in League of Legends, I can go buy the dinky little icon that says, this is my favorite team at the World Championship right now. But in Web3, I can go buy the t-shirt and put it on my avatar, and I can go buy the hat and put it on my avatar, and I can buy the skin and walk around in the world with it and show everybody, hey, I'm a fan of this organization. And so we want to really emphasize this idea of like guilds for us are content creators, and they're canon in our universe. You know, maybe someday Yield Guild Games is a entity in Sparkadia, and it's written into the story, and it's like people can support this organization within that. That's the type of model that we're really going for.
And you've touched on something pretty exciting here, which I don't know if you've kind of spoken about publicly, but obviously, you know, there is going to be this Sparkadia ecosystem. Edenbrawl is just the first game of many. I don't know how much you've talked about this with the public, but I'd love to kind of have you just briefly kind of outline kind of the kind of future scope of what we can expect from Sparkadia.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Sparkadia is what we call an interconnected ecosystem of games, and Edenbrawl is the first game. And my favorite way to describe this is either one, Sparkadia is World of Warcraft without the Warcraft. So it's this idea of you have a main city in an MMO, and when you walk out the gate, you're not playing World of Warcraft, you're playing Edenbrawl. You're playing game number 2, you're playing game number 3. But you still have that character in the center. And then my other favorite description is it's an arcade. And we've all been to the arcade, and you go with your friends, and you meet up in the lobby of the arcade. And you socialize in that lobby, and most importantly, you talk about the games that you're going to play in the arcade. And then eventually everybody heads out to the floor. They play each individual arcade machine. Those are our games. That's what Edenbrawl is. It is an arcade machine. And then you walk back to the lobby and you talk about the games that you just played. And so Sparkadia for us is really just that community. It's a virtual lobby where people come together, and it's like, oh my gosh, I love this game too. I love this character. Do you want to be friends? It's so much easier to make a friend when you're like looking at them versus, hey, this is text chat. Do I really want to hit the add friend request button? And so Sparkadia is really designed to be that enabler. And I talk so much about expressing yourself through the games that you play. We want to see kind of how people play the game. We want people to show the way that they play and the things that they love within our games. And so you'll control an avatar in this virtual world, and that's your Sparkadia citizen. And then you play each individual game from there.
I love that. Especially the part about being in a hub and kind of socializing with other players. So is this a big part of the game is kind of like interacting with each other and socializing? Because that's really important to, in my opinion, keeping community together and keeping retention of users.
Yeah, I mean, I think yes to everything you just said, except for it's not a big part of the game. Because I think what's really an important distinction for us is what we call the world is not our game. And this is really the idea of like, hey, we have, a quote unquote metaverse. Let's just call Sparkadia a metaverse. That's fine. And we say that like, hey, look, this metaverse, there's no gameplay within this metaverse. You're just jumping around in circles and talking to people and, making your tiny little house and dressing yourself up. And that's socializing. That's it. The gameplay is really focused on our games. And so the idea is that no matter what game you want to play in our ecosystem, it all connects back into that hub world. And you're really seeing the fruits of your labor in that world, and everything connects. So that's really the important part for us is we're not just building a metaverse where there's, frankly, nothing to do. We're building a metaverse that's connected to the games. And we want people to latch on through that method.
Yeah, super smart. I'm sure you're a WoW guy, so you probably spent more time in Orgrimmar than actually.
That's exactly the story I always tell. You literally just fly around in circles and jump. That's how I made all my friends back in World of Warcraft. So it's playing on that model exactly.
Good stuff. I mean, like Chandler, I think we brought it up earlier. So we've seen games like, let's say, like Axie Infinity, where they've slowly transitioned their model into rewarding the players who are highly skilled. So we're looking at leaderboard rewards instead of farming STD tokens. Is this something that we can also expect in Edenbrawl when it fully comes out?
Yeah, I mean, we're still really trying to figure that out. I mean, I think naturally at the top level, monetization is a thing. I mean, you see like the league coaching ecosystem, which is kind of like offline, but it still happens, of course. And then you see the league streaming system, monetizing through that. I think step one is officially supporting stuff like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be through direct rewards of like, hey, because you're a challenger, you earn 50% more tickets than this player in bronze. That doesn't feel really that great, mainly because I'm in bronze probably, and that just doesn't feel good at all. So we're still kind of figuring out how to do that. We don't know, like it's most likely going to be something of like, hey, you ended the season at this super top tier. We only minted 5,000 of these things. Everybody gets rewarded with that. So it's kind of like these rewards that you earn, and then you can end up trading them. For me, who's like, yeah, I still want this super unique reward. I just couldn't get it myself. So it's more likely going to be that. And again, I think, same as esports, that's really where Web3 is so powerful, is you're able to do stuff like that. So I think it's going to be more skill-based like that, where kind of like periodic milestone-based rewards.
Gotcha. Though I mean, in contrast, let's say you've had experience working with the biggest game studios, like let's say in the world. Like they do also have the same opportunity where a lot of players are spending a lot of their own money and, as we said, buying skins, upgrading their heroes or whatnot. While you guys are here, building in Web3, and there's gonna be a huge change of how you will not only monetize but also build the community. Like, my question here is, how do you see Sparkadia approaching a very very new frontier in Web3 games, and how will you compete with these other with these other bigger studios? Are you gonna be possibly doing the same thing where you're gonna be monetizing your skins, or is there gonna be a different approach?
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, Web3. I talk about this a lot. Myself, I don't come from gaming. I was a boring IT consultant for 12 years before I got into gaming, and I'm able to hire people and compete with Riot Games and Blizzard, and you wouldn't be able to do that without Web3. And I think this idea of like, hey, we're about to sell these NFTs and we're about to actively get the community involved. And we're about to not only raise money, but build community. And now all of a sudden I have this crazy marketing budget, even though it's not real money, because I'm able to, give away NFTs and sell NFTs. And like, I'm able to amplify my marketing budget. And so to me, I always call Web3 like the great equalizer. Like, it allows indie studios like us to compete on that level. Maybe not compete directly on that level, but at least come close. But as far as like, kind of like the idea of like pioneering this idea of, Web3 games and economies and things like that, frankly, I don't think we're pioneering anything. Like, we are a bridge, and we're taking what we know works in Web2. And that's a fun game based on cosmetics and really getting people to fall in love with the world and the characters and like monetizing that direction. And we're adding a layer on top of it. Like, to me, this idea of making blockchain gaming work is iterative. We're going to figure all this out in the next 10 years, sure. But we can't try to figure it out all at once. We can't build up this economy model that's never existed before ever in the history of gaming and just instantly flip the switch. I would reference like free to play is vastly different today than it was 15 years ago. And I think we really just have to kind of iterate on this and see what it works. And to me, one of our focuses on building that economy model was, how do we make it very moldable? How do we make it very modular? And so our economy is really broken down into what I would call like economic concepts. And it's this idea that if something goes wrong, we have so many different levers to pull that it's not a big deal. We can just like cut one part off and everything else still survives. And so it was really important to us to just build those different concepts out and see how it goes, and also be able to add more. So it's just very modular and adaptable is kind of the focus.
Yeah, I mean, since you brought it up, man. So, what items or what features of Edenbrawl are going to be on chain, and what are going to be collectible?
Yeah, super simple. Cosmetics only. Edenbrawl is not pay to win at all. You cannot buy anything that affects the gameplay. So it works just like League of Legends. Skins, emotes, cosmetics, sprays, icons, anything you can dream of. That's what's on chain or off chain. That's what's monetizable. Where it gets a little more unique is at the ecosystem level. So when you hit Sparkadia, we kind of view it as like Sparkadia is at the top of the pyramid here, and then Edenbrawl's here, second game's here, third game's here. At this ecosystem level, that's really where we get interesting with like monetization and tokens. And so, for example, we do have land. We call it dwellings. It's not really like passive generating land. It's just, if anyone's ever played Genshin Impact, it's your teapot house, and it's a customizable thing, and it's your trophy room. It's where everything that you've ever done and earned and conquered gets to show up. And you can do really unique stuff there with your tokens, and we can do really unique stuff there with monetization. And so the NFTs that we're selling on Monday, for example, are what we call collections or sets. And it's this idea of like, this is Exodia. And whenever you own all parts of Exodia, you get a bunch of bonuses across the ecosystem because you're the ultimate collector, and you've collected 8 of our original NFTs that we first ever sold. And so that's kind of how like that slots in at the ecosystem level, and that persists across every game that we have.
Awesome. So yeah, I think we've we've actually been able to answer like a few questions there from the community, within our discussions. But yeah, reminding everyone, before we get into the further discussion, like we'd like to invite all of you guys. If you have any questions for Chandler, make sure to write that down and send that over on the AMA discussion text channel. So for everyone else watching on Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube, so hop on over to the YGG Discord. That's discord.gg/YGG, and shoot down your questions there. Yep. I mean, how about you, Kazuo? I mean, have you been playing Wild Drift again lately? And I don't know, like, what do you think? What do you think is the main difference between game like traditional Web 2 MOBA games and now that you've tried Edenbrawl?
I mean, I think what Chandler was saying is there's not a huge difference. They're not like, it's not like an innovation really, but it's another layer as far as the on-chain ownership of NFT skins. So what's exciting to me is how when I played League of Legends, there's this skin called Championship Riven, which is one of the most rare ones. I mean, there's a number of super rare skins, but just the idea that one would be able to actually have ownership of something like that and have access to liquidity, a marketplace, and being able to trade it and actually have it in their wallet, it just makes it all that much more magical and makes it just feel more important for the player, more meaningful.
For sure.
But yeah, I think it's a great game. I really genuinely am excited for it to come out.
Yeah, I mean, well, we already have like huge communities. Like we have fandom behind the biggest IPs like right now. Let's say, as you said, like Wild Drift. We have Dota. For FPS, we have Apex Legends, like Valorant, and I mean the list goes on. But I mean, right? How would it look like, right? I mean, if you have a game that's actually being fueled by the community, like they also have skin in the game, and like it's not just one way. I mean, there's a lot of potential there. Like a lot can happen, and yeah, it's very exciting stuff.
Yeah, super exciting. I think it's Sedano
Looks
draw.
like it looks like we might have briefly lost Sedano. I'm sure he'll be back in a couple of moments.
Yeah.
So I know that I think we were going through some of the community questions, from my understanding. I don't know. Did Sedano already ask the one regarding free to play?
Free to play?
So yeah, Chandler, is Edenbrawl going to have a free to play? And if yes, how would it work? And will free to play players be able to earn anything?
Yeah, 100%. The entire game is free to play. There's no requirements. You don't have to buy NFTs. You don't have to use tokens to play the game. 100% free to play. You don't have to. Our champions or our heroes are not NFTs. You can play the heroes without owning the NFT. There's no restriction behind that. And yeah, everybody's kind of on the same boat. You can still earn. You can still acquire NFTs. You can still acquire assets. You don't need to do anything special to do that.
I'm gonna hop in really quick because I think Sedano asked me a question about like how this will potentially be different from a Web 2 version of this, and I think just like the model of people having skin in the game, the community actually owning part of the game economy, the part of the IP in a sense, I guess, from ownership of skins. I think it just scales really well. People are going to be talking about it to their friends and feel that much more motivated to get the word out. So yeah, I think it's just like a matter of scale and how it can proliferate naturally, more efficiently probably than a Web 2 game. But yeah, had to run out there for a second.
Yeah.
Something in addition was going on.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk, all day about like this idea of like, hey, there's gameplay differences and there's a bunch of new stuff on like how the gameplay is different. But yeah, I think the idea of being able to get people in and like really getting them attached to what they're doing, and what better way to get them attached than ownership. And so I always talk about this. It's really hard to talk trash about a game in Web3 if you're a bag holder. And so it's like this idea of like everybody goes in League of Legends and they like start talking trash about like, I hate League of Legends, but they don't they don't care. But if you're an active player and you have all these things in this ecosystem, you want it to succeed. And I think that's such like it's really discounted. You're not going to have those overwhelmingly negative Steam reviews because everybody's like, well, shoot, I played this game for 100 hours. I want this game to succeed, at least until I'm out of it. And I think that's really, really important. Being hyperbolic about, people being negative, but it's really important for the longevity of people want to keep playing because they have a sunk cost into it. And that's really important for sure.
Yeah. So.
So Dano, I asked the free to play question there. Just I can't remember which of the last questions you asked. 'Cause from my understanding, we had moved to the community questions, right?
Yeah, no worries. So yeah, we're jumping into another question here. This time around, it's from Kenny D. So Kennedy's asking, will there be any purchasable heroes or locked skills, or will all of these be unlocked in game like right away?
Yeah, no, that's kind of what I mentioned about like the heroes are not NFTs. So no, there's nothing locked. You will be able to play absolutely everything in the game without ever having to buy anything.
Awesome. So you're basically just getting all the good stuff, but if you want the better stuff, they're cosmetics. So that's it for you.
Yeah, it's just cosmetics, exactly. Yep.
Awesome. So yeah, like no buffs, no anything, no skills. It's just basically think of it as this. We actually have a very active community managers and scholarship managers in the community who are really into Dota. Like they've been posting like their unboxing, their battle pass like ranking, their purchases and everything. So just think of it that way, but it's all the good stuff that we have with blockchain games and ownership.
Exactly.
I mean, so I want to jump to ACL. Like we still have a few minutes here with Chandler, and yeah. So since ACL, like you've always always been active. You actually are creating content for our MOBA community almost every week, and like for you, like what are you looking for? Let's say you haven't heard about Edenbrawl. Like if you were to look for a Web3 MOBA brawler, what is like maybe like the top 2 stuff that that the game has to have for it to be fun for you guys who are actively playing MOBA brawlers?
That's a very good question. Are you asking me or Chandler? Sorry.
For you ACLs, yeah, for ACLs.
Oh yeah, go for
Okay.
it. My bad. Yeah, I was thinking I was going to answer it like if anybody else other than us. I was on board, but yeah,
No,
go
no
for it.
worries. You know what? That's a really good question. I'm not going to pinpoint 2 things specifically, but what I'm going to say, just generally looking at any Web3 game, the whole point, what we want to look for is something we haven't seen, something we haven't experienced, like layers of, game mechanics that just haven't been done before, right? Because it's a new space, new technology. We can be creative, right? We can do things differently. So I'm always looking for just different layers of experience, different ways to interact in the game. And like touching on, the social space, that immediately reminded me of one of my favorite games, and that's Destiny, right? And I remember just like congregating with my friends at the tower and, just reviewing like the different elements that were taking place, whether it's events, competitive, raids, you name it, like different things were going on, right? And that gives me the same vibe. Like you have the plaza area, you meet up with your friends. There's different things you can do there. You add that element from other games where you have that apartment or social space where you can display your rewards and your accomplishments and have your friends come over and experience that. And usually all of these things are like separated, between game experiences. It's not always integrated into one ecosystem. So seeing that, that's definitely different. And that's something we look for, is just a new experience, things being done differently. And that's what makes it exciting. That's what makes it even more fun than what we're used to and, what we see all the time. So I'm just looking for new experiences and creative, gameplay and storylines that really just captivate you and get you interested, immerse you in the world, and make you want to play, right? That's what it comes down to. So
Good stuff right there. But yeah, I mean ACLs. We wouldn't be surprised, if we start seeing you and your friends, hop onto Edenbrawl once the full release is available. But yeah, I mean, so you can even see the countdown on Steam, if I'm not mistaken, Chandler. Like if you go on Steam, search Edenbrawl, it says it's free to play, and yeah, it actually tells you like when the game's about to be fully released. But yeah, so while we're waiting for that, we have everyone here on Discord. So we've dropped some sort of surprise for everyone who attended tonight, and yeah, just make sure check it out. Make sure to have your Immutable X wallet ready if you haven't yet. So it's basically the same as having an Ethereum and ERC20 wallet, and if you haven't actually opened one, make sure that you have that ready, so that when the surprises come in, you guys are part of it. But I mean, Chandler, you guys are also running like your own campaign, right? So could you tell us more about what's going to be happening, or what you guys have in store for the general community, like in the next few weeks, in the next few days?
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly tomorrow.
Okay.
It's actually like 24 hours from now, actually, almost to the minute, is happening. So tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern and 3 p.m. UTC time, our first ever NFT sale goes live. It is the artwork behind me. If you can see it, again, these are not heroes you have to buy to play the game. It's just collectibles, and it's fun stuff that get you bonuses across the ecosystem. So huge moment for us. We've historically never marketed. We've never talked much about our game up until like 2.5 weeks ago. So it's been an absolute ride, doing this giant marketing push, and appreciate you guys having me on here to do the AMA, obviously, and be able to talk about it. So that's honestly the big thing for us, is we would love for this to go really well, and really be able to tell that story of like, hey, in 3 weeks, this is how much we grew, and this is our sold out NFT collection, because people actually believe in what we're doing. And I think that's really, validating for us, as we've had so many people come in and be like, yeah, I totally agree with you guys' vision on Web3 gaming here. And we want to get behind it. So yeah, that's the biggest thing for us, is that NFT sale live tomorrow. And to celebrate that, we're doing a gigantic giveaway, like a lot of stuff, at giveaway.sparkadia.gg. First of all, you can be entered into a raffle to win the NFTs themselves. But even if you don't win the raffle, there's a ton of off-chain rewards too. And it's really simple. You just like a tweet, retweet a tweet, join a Discord, and you're pretty much done. So would love for folks to go to that and get a chance to win. And then we're giving away stuff all over the community. Like, you're probably going to find like 10 different giveaway tweets if you look hard enough. So just look around and make sure you use code YGG when signing up for that giveaway campaign, because we are tracking that specifically.
Awesome. So yeah, definitely everybody at home. You've heard it first from Sparkadia's main man himself, Chandler Thomlison, and make sure to check out their socials. It's sparkadia.gg, and join their Discord at discord.gg/sparkadiagg. Twitter is twitter.com/sparkadiagg, and across the board, same URL. That's same as Telegram and Facebook as well. So yeah, I mean, Chandler, like before we go, we'd like to thank you for sharing your time with us, and yeah, we're looking forward to get that 5v5 with your devs pretty soon. So shout out to everyone who dropped by tonight. We've got our friends from Axu University, from Axu. Shout out to Spracky. Shout out to our community helpers, our moderators who are here tonight. Boa, AC, everyone's here. Big Boss, Barring, Build, the list goes on. K8. But yeah, everyone at home, make sure to follow, subscribe, and also share the YGG AMA and our show for tonight. So it's gonna be uploaded right after. If you have friends who have missed tonight's AMA, don't worry, just send them the links, and yeah, we'll definitely be back. So yeah, I mean, I'm pretty good in my end. Handing over the mic to my boys here, Saratobi, Kazu, and ACLs.
No, just to reiterate Sedano's points there, thanks so much for coming on, Chandler. I, for one, am pretty excited to play Edenbrawl. It looks like a really exciting game. Make sure to follow them on socials, just as John's already said. And I think that's it. Kazuo, no ACLs, do you have any other final points to add?
Yeah, honestly,
No, just about the
pleasure to
same.
be here with you guys. And I'm just, looking forward to playing the game. Honestly, it's been a fun discussion.
Yeah, super excited for this to launch, and looking forward to the sale going live tomorrow. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys. Take care, everyone.
Awesome. See you guys. Peace.
Thanks, Emil.
Okay. Oh no. You got rugged and we were just like, well, looks like Sedano's fun. It was fun, yeah. I'll probably have some time this afternoon to like hop into it. I've got it downloaded, so I'll check it out. What's in the giveaway, man? Nice. The one he was saying there's only like 10,000 of. Nice. Oh, I saw that. Nice. Oh, nice. For Lockies or Edenbrawl? Okay, nice. Sick. Nice. What is the Lockies like? No. It's about time though, like I don't think he wins like all the time, right? Because it's been a long time. Yeah, no, that's cool. There's been tons of events and giveaways and stuff, so it's good to see. I didn't even like really look at what the Locky was about. I saw it, I know it was like in partnership with Unlocked or dropped by them. But yeah, I didn't hop on that train. I wasn't really sure what it was about. Let's see if we didn't have time.